We're back here to the Neil Haley Show on the Caregiver Dave Celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome to the program Caregiver Dave Nasani. Dave, how are you?
I'm great.
Weeks, you were celebrating, right? For a couple weeks.
Yeah, I had a grandson get married, one of 7.
Wow.
Nashville, Tennessee. Good to be in Nashville. Owned a lot of property there, lost a lot of money there, and I have a lot of family there.
So you're back, and we have some great guests. Introduce our guest today.
Siobhan Fallon Hogan. Great.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, I was going to introduce you, but why don't you quickly tell us some of your accolades so we know who we're talking to, or the audience does.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll tell my resume.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've been in this business for a million years. I was on Saturday Night Live, Seinfeld, Men in Black, Forrest Gump, you name it. A lot of Lars von Trier movies, Dancer in the Dark, Dogville, but now I've written a movie called Rushed, which is coming out today.
All right.
And it'll be in theaters all
That's
over the country. Yeah.
Impressive resume.
Thank you.
I know it's her press and resume, but she wants to do some comedy. So let's talk. What came first? SNL? Was I mean, like, how did that happen?
Well, I did a lot of theater, and I moved to New York City. I'm from upstate New York, which Rushed is based on a woman from upstate New York. And it went down to New York. I had no skills whatsoever. I did some summer stock theater, and I was ready to quit the business. And my father said, "Why don't you come home and do dinner theater?" I was like, "What?" And then this friend of mine said, there's an audition at this improv comedy club. So I got in, and the director said, "Why don't you write a 1-person show?" So I said, "All right." I'd never written. And so I did. And I put it on at West Side Arts off-Broadway theater. And I rented the lobby out because theaters are dark on Monday nights and Sunday nights. So people thought I had an off-Broadway 1-woman show. And I handed out the tickets, the flyers at TKTS, and I got great reviews. So I brought it to LA, did it in LA, and Seinfeld came and SNL came, and I got on those shows, and that opened a ton of doors for me.
Wow. Okay. So I want to go SNL, and I'm sure, Dave, you have questions on Seinfeld. So SNL, tell us specifically, once you had that opportunity, some of the things that we can remember from SNL.
So mainly what people would know me from SNL, I was one of the Delta girls. Delta, can I help you? And so that was, and I did a lot of, Chris Rock used to say, call me Judgy, because they always made me the judge, Judgy Wudgy. But I was on with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and David Spade. And that was the Wayne's World years. I was very good friends with Chris Farley, Adam and David are still friends. Ellen Cleghorn was my roommate. She's still a great friend. So, it was great. I mean, it was, what I'd hoped for as a comedian. And then I was lucky because I did Shakespeare in the Park that summer. I was Phoebe in As You Like It in Central Park in New York City. And a casting director who was very sophisticated, Avi Kaufman, saw me, and she said, "Siobhan, I think you can do more than comedy." And I was like, "You think?" So she had me audition for Lars von Trier, who's a very well-known European director. And my daughter Bernadette was a very difficult child. She had ear infections all the time. So I was up all night with the baby, and I was able to cry on command during the audition. So I've done 3 movies with Lars. I did Dancer in the Dark that won the Palme d'Or with Bjork. I did Dogville with Lauren Bacall and Nicole Kidman. And I just did The House of Jack McDillan. So when I wrote Rushed, my movie, I sent it over to Denmark, and they loved it. And they said, "We want to co-produce." So I was like, "Oh, maybe this is good." So I called up my good friend, Robert Patrick from The Terminator and Walk the Line and many, many movies to play my husband. He said, "I'm in." Jake Weary from Animal Kingdom. He plays the bad boy frat boy, and Perry Gilpin from Frasier. And so that's how it all happened.
Awesome.
Wow, you are well connected, young lady.
Well, I've been around the block. And, I treat people the way I want to be treated when I'm on a set or as a friend. And so, when I called up these big high rollers who make a lot of money a week, I was like, "Robert, what do you think?" He's like, "Siobhan, I love the script." And he's like, "I'm all in." And I was like, "How much do you want to make a week? $2 or $2.50? And then he said, I love the script. I'm in." So actually his mom is going to be seeing the movie tonight in Cleveland. And we have a big surprise for her out there tonight when she goes to see the show.
Wow. So what, when you were younger, what did you feel like you were going to do? Was it comedy? Was it theater? Was it musical? Was it writing? I mean,
Well,
where did you first get your first clue you were a talented person?
I'm one of 5, and I'm from a big Irish Catholic family. And my parents didn't really, well, they cared about our grades, but they cared more if we were funny. So I remember one time I came home from college, I had a really bad grades, and I was like a D in astronomy, and maybe my best grade was like a C. And I was like, and my friends were like, you're gonna be in so much trouble. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have gone out so much. And so I said to my father, I got a D in astronomy. And he's like, Siobhan, and look I just ate 2.5 pieces of pie. Now there's a lot of the pie left over. There's 65% of the pie. Look how much pie there is. D's not bad in astronomy. Who knows about the stars? So anyway, my family really loved funny and they love stories. So we were big storytellers. So I kind of, I did stage first, and comedy was my kind of thing. I never did stand up, but I got my master's in fine arts and acting from Catholic University, which has a very good program. Susan Sarandon went there, John Voight, John Slattery, a lot of great actors. I had this training, but I was pegged to be comedic only. And when I got this break with Lars von Trier, that opened up a lot of doors. And then I got The Negotiator, and I did a lot of serious movies after that. So I was able to make that cross.
Wow. Very impressive.
So let's go to SNL and your experiences with Chris Farley. We're interested in hearing about that.
Okay. So Chris, I just feel so honored and blessed to have known him and have him be my friend. He and I, from very similar backgrounds. My husband, at the time, I just started to date. He was a New York rugby player. He worked on Wall Street. He lived a block from me. Chris and I we'd go to the parties, and afterwards I'd be like, Chris, I really like this guy. He's really nice. And he's like, Siobhan, what's his apartment number? Come on, let's find him. Let's go to his building. And so we'd go with David Spade. Chris and I would go, and like 5 o'clock in the morning, because the parties at SNL didn't start till 1. And he'd ring the buzzer. Come on, Peter, you fat bastard, wake up. Sharon's a catch. Come on, open the door. So he was instrumental in me meeting my husband. Then we both went to Holy Trinity Catholic Church together at night on Sunday nights. And, sometimes the parties would go a little wild, and you see Chris going, I'm sorry. But he was such a great guy. And after he passed, I remember there was a memorial for him, and you'd think there'd be like, some star up there giving the eulogy. And the memorial service this was, though, actually. And up was a shut-in who he had visited and brought meals to. He was a great person, with a rough, terrible problem. And my movie actually touches on something similar, in that the family, when horrible things happen to funny people, to me, that's particularly sad, and even more sad because you don't expect kind of the funny ones to have that much trouble. And when they do, how do they handle it? And, I saw Chris go through a lot, and, he suffered a lot, but his funny was so funny. I mean, it's at those two extremes, So I was really lucky to be his pal. And I got to tell you, like Adam Sandler and David Spade, they've been so supportive of my movie Rushed, and I'm forever grateful to SNL. And Lorne Michaels put me in Baby Mama years after, when I was a birthing specialist with Tina Fey. I was like, okay, Quish, we're going to talk about birthing a baby.
Awesome.
Tell us about your Seinfeld times.
Seinfeld was unbelievable. So interestingly,
So remind us about the character.
I was Elaine's roommate. I was Tina, Elaine's roommate.
Before Seinfeld, right?
No, during Seinfeld.
No,
I
during
remember it
Seinfeld.
completely, and now you're giving me.
No, on the show, I was Elaine's roommate. And the first time I was on, they were just starting up, and they didn't know if they were going to get picked up for the second season. And then I was Kramer's girlfriend, the African dance. And then I did another one where Elaine was getting kicked out of the building. I was like, you can't let people into the building. That's why there's a buzzer. So I had this character.
Yes.
When I first got on the show, Larry David called me up after we had done, rehearsed for a couple of days. In TV, you have to get everything down into 22 minutes so that if it's a half-hour show, because of the commercial time. Sure. And he's like, Siobhan, we got to cut I thought he was gonna say, we got to cut you out. But he said, we have to cut your part down a little. And I was like, oh, that's no problem. So I was an actress on it. That was my part. And I was like, oh my God, I had the best. I couldn't have talked slower. I was like, well, if my part's cut down, I'll just slow down my part. Wait, there's a bottle of water here. I'll show you. I was like, hi, Elaine. Hi, Jerry. And then they had a straw, but I was like, Anyway, I took the longest sip in the history of man, and I talk so slowly that my part equaled the same amount. That's called milking it as an actor, or they call it chewing the scenery. So anyway, it was fabulous. And then when I went back for the 5th season, I was supposed to do another one, but I couldn't because of SNL. But when I went back the 3rd time, they were on top of the world. So it was, and then they never changed. They were just great people who worked hard, loved what they did, and obviously it was genius.
I can't believe you've never done stand-up. Have
No.
you considered it? Is it scary? Of course it's scary.
It's a totally different ballgame. I'm an actress. I like to hide behind characters. I don't like to stand up and be myself and tell jokes, because if you stand up and tell a joke and it bombs, you can't blame it on you. If you're a character, you can hide behind the character, you know? I mean, that it's a totally different deal.
I think you should do it. You can
You
do
do
a
it?
whole
right,
routine
maybe I
about your
will.
characters, all the characters you've ever done.
I know, but if people don't laugh, wait till you see my movie. It's a revenge thriller. And when things don't go her way, she has a slightly bad temper. So what if I went after the audience and be like, hey, you didn't laugh at my jokes. Come over here. You think, let me talk to you.
See,
That's
I love
funny
your
right there.
always going back to that, but there's so many different experiences to talk about, Dave. And see, I know exactly who she's talking about now because of the Seinfeld. Everyone remembers Seinfeld characters. It's like the thing that no one forgets, a Seinfeld character. I interviewed the Soup Nazi. And he was phenomenal. Mr. Peterman, I've interviewed, or not Peterman. No, you did the one, the one from the dog show. It'll come. John O'Hurley. I've interviewed.
Oh yeah.
I've interviewed multiple times for the dog show. But those Seinfeld characters, or the Red Ribbon, you are on one time Seinfeld. People aren't going to forget your character forever. Do you agree with that? When you start saying Seinfeld and then you tell the story, they'll say, "Oh, I remember."
I was lucky to do 3 of them. I was supposed to do the 4th, and my son recently said to me, "Mom, you should do cameos." I'm like, "What is a cameo?" So I was like, "All right, let's give it a whirl." So we were on this road trip, and he signs me up for cameo, and 2 seconds later, it's like, ding. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm like wearing like my husband's t-shirt. I have no makeup." And it's like, "Do a cameo." And they're like, "Could you please do Seinfeld when Elaine gets kicked out of the building?" And not everybody, a lot of people like to see Men in Black or Forrest Gump or Holes or different things, but a lot of people say,
we have so many things. You remember Holes, again, another great movie.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was like, they always want to say, "That's why there's a buzzer." No, but Holes, they like me, Henry Winkler and I did the dance. They know, I don't smell anything. So people like that. And of course they always love Men in Black. And then I don't know, there's all kinds of different things, but because of my experience being in this business so long, when I went and did my movie Rushed, which, notice how I keep circling back to that.
I love it because you're doing the same thing. I had
Seinfeld,
Mr.
Rushed,
Mr.
Seinfeld.
Wonderful, and he did the same thing, going back to see his MSNBC thing. We were trying to talk Shark Tank with Mr. Wonderful, and he just kept coming back. So you're doing the same strategy that he's doing. That's okay.
My father was a lawyer. He used to call those people double talkers. He's like, "Siobhan, that person's a double talker." So that's like a crazy person. No, but I wanted to say, because of all my experiences working on all these different shows, I mean, that's how I met Perry Gilpin from Frasier. I did a play with her. So, all these people that you meet along the way, you kind of connect the dots, and then it all kind of works out, but, and then the social media thing is so huge. Like Jake Weary's in the movie, he's huge in Animal Kingdom. Adam Sandler, David Spade. I'm like, guys, I don't even know what tweeting is. I was like, you need to retweet this thing that my son did. And like, Siobhan, we're all in. Like, they're so supportive,
That's great. All right. I love you going back each time, and I'm going to take you back again. So let's go 30 Rock now. What was your character on 30 Rock?
30 Rock, I played Alec Baldwin's sister, and I was Molly Shannon's sister. And that was crazy because my own daughter in real life, there was like a camping trip, and I'm not outdoorsy at all for the school. So I don't know why I volunteered, and I got pneumonia. And so I was supposed to play like a big drinker sister. So when on the show, I had like this cough that sounded like an alcoholic because I had pneumonia. I was like, ugh. But anyway, it was a riot. I love being on that show.
What about Men in Black?
Men in Black was unbelievable. Barry Sonnenfeld, one of the greatest directors of all times. And, it was with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, Vincent D'Onofrio. And I mean, it was just incredible. I honestly did, for that show, an imitation of someone I knew from Syracuse. I was like, I had no expression. And I was like, "Edgar, your skin is falling off your bones," because there was a girl from Syracuse who talked like that. And I was like, just an imitation of her. And Barry's like, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, you can't make up stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to another question. So, Dave, I guess you did the last question. So you've circled us back 6 times to the movie, but we're going to
What
get to that.
movie?
in a minute.
Rushed?
Yes.
Don't worry, we are going to talk about Rush because I
We're
want
always
to
going
know.
to give it.
Rushed that's
the-
coming out today in theaters across the country. And it's also going to be on Apple, iTunes, and Amazon and all video platforms. And please come support us. It's fabulous. And our reviews have been unbelievable. You got to go on filmthreat.com. You got to go on Rotten Tomatoes. It's been off the charts. If you like thrillers, go.
All
How
right,
much can you tell us without giving it away?
Well, I'm going to tell you that there's 2 audiences for this film. There's kids going into college and college kids, and there's a parents who sit in their beds, sick to their stomachs, worried about their kids because we have these things called cell phones. And we're like, hey, make good choices while you're in college. Just let me know you're in safely. Okay. Then 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, mom again. Don't mean to bug you. Want to give you some freedom, but let me know. And you sit in bed and you're in the fetal position and you're like, my God, my kid's probably dead. So this was from me sitting in bed. I have 2 daughters and a son, many nights worrying. Many moms do this. Your kids go off to college. In the movie, I have 4 kids. The oldest boy goes off to college. The mother harasses the kids on the way to school. She's like, call your brother, Jimmy. They're like, Mom, you're harassing him. I'm like, all right, either call him and pull those skirts down because you look like hookers, or I'm telling you right now, if you're ugly on the outside, ugly on the inside and pretty on the outside, no one likes you. Now call your brother. Anyway, so she harasses him, but then something horrible happens. And this mom at the beginning of the movie is praying and she's swearing at the same time because the kids are late for school and the sandwiches she's making are all messed up. So she's this frantic, faithful mom with a lot of humor. And when the horrible incident takes place, her faith and her humor get her through, but she's a different person because she never expected to be out in the limelight. And I have this fabulous editor. I did this Johnny Depp movie called The Professor. And my director, Vibeke Musaya, who's fantastic from Denmark, she said to me 2 days before the film was ending, we were driving upstate New York to get the foliage scenes. Siobhan, we have an A-list film and we don't have an A-list editor. And I was like, wait, I know one. Sabina Miliani. She edited and she said to me, Siobhan, let me tell you something. When you do a thriller, you must always be 1 step ahead of the audience. Every time they think they have it figured out, you twist and turn, twist and turn. So this movie, when you see it, and as the reviewers are saying, you will be on the edge of your seat in the fetal position because you don't know what's happening next ever. And Robert Patrick hits it out of the ballpark. So does Jake Weary. So does Perry Gilpin and Rusty Schwimmer. The cast is unbelievable.
Wow.
So I love this promotion, but I'm going to go back to like when I always talk to people is you're giving us the pretty much that gist. Why did you do it? What made you want to put this together?
I had written several one-woman shows over the years. And about 4 years ago, I said to myself, if I can do a one-person show, why can't I write a film? Because I've been in the industry long enough. So I have a friend who's a producer and he said, and he's a writer, and he said, Siobhan, just write. But when you write, don't judge the end. Don't judge any of it. Just start writing. And, you know, as a mom and with kids that are teenagers, when they start going out, when they're like 15, you're just worried all the time. And so I spent many a night in my bed worried. And that's where it came from.
Yeah. I have 3 daughters. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. My father used to say, I like kids, just not from 15 to 25.
You got that right.
So, but because, you know, this whole college thing, when they go off, and you have too much contact with them, it's almost worse because when you don't have the contact, you worry sick. And now with colleges, when they change that drinking age, you guys know when we went to college, it was beer. Now it's all hard liquor and it's Russian roulette when you're drinking hard liquor.
Yeah.
And also in any institution, whether it's a sorority or a frat or any job, when the leader is hip and cool and good looking and tough, and they have some sort of a charm that people follow them, but in your gut, you're like, I don't like that guy or that girl. You got to have the guts to get out and do the right thing. Don't follow the leader because you know what I mean? Because everybody else thinks you're cool. And there's a message in this. The humor and the faith gets you through. And when you're in a bad situation, you do the right thing by your friend. And if the right thing is to call 911, you better do it, or someone might find you. Because hell hath no fury like a mother scorned.
You've gone through every characters, and it's just amazing how many characters. That's why you've done a one-woman show. One other person I've interviewed that's done a one-woman show is Kat Kramer back in the day. Kat, she's really good at Catherine Kramer against late father was Stanley Kramer, and
Yeah.
she does those one woman. I've talked to other people. So you did a one woman interview just now. You've asked yourself questions and it
It's
turned.
clever.
Yeah.
Well, Lily Tomlin and I worked together years and years ago. And of course, I was a massive fan of Lily's. And I saw her show on Broadway. I saw her show a couple times. And she was a big influence. And, I always tell young actors, like, if you are frustrated with where your career is at, pick up a pen and start writing. If you write your own show, no one can stop you.
Right. So
And
you
then it
did
will
that.
open up
Now
doors.
you created your own film. So there you go.
Yes,
For
there
one
you
person.
go.
Okay. All right. Dave is going to ask the final question before we
Sure.
find out where we can find the film, because he's a caregiver, and we'll find out why he's a caregiver. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm a caregiver. My wife had a stroke 25 years ago, and she lost her speech, became paralyzed on one side. A couple of
Oh,
years of grieving, was miserable, but then she reinvented herself. She decided, she was going to do everything she did before with one arm and no speech. And now
unbelievable.
she's amazing. She's like a Martha Stewart, Wonder Woman rolled into one. And we've been going through this for 25 years. So I realized that, hey, if I could just communicate to other caregivers, because I didn't know what I was doing,
Right.
all the mistakes I made. So I became Dave, the caregiver's caregiver. Been on television 50 times, did some interviews, spoke all over the world, going to London on the 12th of this month, going to speak at the
Oh, he's freezing
London
again.
Stock Exchange,
Yeah.
get my picture with Nigel Farage. My question to you, and I've got a website, caregiverdave.com,
Yes.
and 4 books.
Yes.
I'd like to say that if you don't think you're going to be a caregiver, just wait. It's inevitable. It's going to happen to everybody. So
Dave?
now's the time to prepare, not after tragedy strikes like I did. Don't know what you're doing. You don't have to scratch your head.
I want to tell you that I think what you do is unbelievable. And I want to call you a saint, because my mom just passed at 96 years old. And it's so hard to find great caregivers. And my sisters were unbelievable. One of them moved in with her. They're from upstate. We all took turns, but there was 2 women who we knew, and we knew they were caregivers, and they would come in, and they're saints. And what an important role in life. That's why I always say, like, being an actor or actress, people think that's so great. But the truth is, there's so many more important roles, and you're the one who deserves an Academy Award, and you're the one who deserves a star on the sidewalk, because holy cow, that's unbelievable. And your wife is incredible.
Every caregiver.
That's
Thank
really
you.
every caregiver. It's beautiful.
So again, check out caregiverdave.com. Now we have talked about the film. Where can people watch it right now?
Okay, so they got to Google if they're in your town. It's in many towns and cities all over the country. If it's not in your town, you go to @RushedMovie on our Instagram or on our Facebook. But you can also just watch it on iTunes, Amazon, Apple, and you can download it right now. I've already had people that have downloaded it, been watching it for breakfast. I don't know what's going on, but it is. Where do you guys live?
I'm in Pittsburgh.
LA.
Pittsburgh and LA. Okay. So I don't think it's in LA. It's in Riverside, California. Pittsburgh, we just interviewed with the Pittsburgh City Press. So I know there's some theaters there that want to get it, but it's all over Florida. It's all over Boston and New York and New Jersey and South Dakota and Arizona, many theaters. If it's not in your theater though, download it and watch it. And please support us, because independent movies really need your support.
Yes.
And thank you, both of you. And God bless you for being a caregiver. I think it's incredible.
And
I can download it from Amazon.
Amazon, iTunes, Apple, and several other platforms. And I honestly only knew what platform shoes were till about 2 weeks ago, when Vertical Entertainment told me, said, make sure you mention the platforms.
Okay, that's fantastic. Everyone needs to check it out. Appreciate it. And where are you on Instagram? Where can we?
@RushedMovie.
All right, awesome. We appreciate you. Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Bye.
Do
All right,
great
that
work.
was the Neil Haley Show, you guys. Take care.